Hi, everyone. We are going to learn about cognates today. In English, we say cognate, and in Spanish, we say cognados. Okay, so what is a cognate? So here's our pretty much our definition. It says there are some words in another language that when you see them or you look at them, you're pretty sure that you know what they mean. These words might be spelled exactly the same or very similar to the language that you yourself speak every day. And these types of pairs of words that exist in two languages are called a cognate, which comes from the Latin cognatus, which just means relative. So it's like these words are related somehow. And we have three main types of cognates. We have exact cognates, direct cognates, and indirect cognates. So, what is an exact cognate? They have the same meaning and the same spelling in English and your other language, just a little bit different pronunciation. So, for example, we have in English chocolate, in Spanish, we have chocolate. Same meaning, same spelling. We have hotel in English, and we have hotel in Spanish. Same meaning, same spelling. We have idea in English and idea in Spanish. And then we have piano in English and piano in Spanish. Those are exact cognates. Direct cognates have a direct and similar meaning and spelling and in English. So when you look at it, you're like, oh, I can kind of work out what this is from one language to another. So we have declaración, which is a declaration, like think of the Declaration of Independence. We have libertad, which is liberty. We have familia, which is family. Especial, which means special. Rápido, which means rapid or quick or fast. And curioso, which is curious. Then we have our indirect cognates. They usually it takes a couple more steps to get to the place, if that makes sense. You're like, this looks like something in English, and it sounds like something in English, and it's pretty close. Or looks like something in Spanish, sounds like something in Spanish, and it's pretty close. So, for example, we have the word biblioteca. And a biblioteca is a library because biblio is Latin for a collection of books. So that's where libraries where we keep our books. So you can see that it like kind of has evolved a little bit more. But wait, there's more. We do have some words that look alike or that are spelled similarly in both languages, in both English and Espanol, that can have very different meanings. And we call these false cognates. In Spanish, they're called cognados falsos, or sometimes you'll hear people call them amigos falsos. An amigo means friend, and so falso means false. So that's calling it a false friend, like a fake friend, because these can kind of trip us up. But you don't have to worry because only about 10% of these words are amigos falsos or cognados falsos. So some examples would be pan. Pan is not a pan that you cook something in. It means bread. We have once, which is not once. It means 11. We have pie, which does not mean pie. It means foot. We have I, which does not mean hay, like what horses graze on in a pasture. It means there is or there are. It's actually a verb. We have the word sin, which is not the word for sin. It means without. And then we have embarazada, which does not mean embarrassed. It means pregnant. And then we have sopa, which does not mean soap. It means soup. So, how does knowing cognates and learning about cognates and reading about cognates, seeing cognates, hearing cognates, how do these things help us? So, Spanish came from Latin, all right? And English borrowed a lot of words from Latin. English does not come from Latin. English is more of a Germanic language. And German did not come from Latin. But Spanish is a direct descendant from Latin. And both English and Spanish have borrowed words from classical Greek or like old school Greek, the Greek that's not spoken anymore. You just read it. And you don't speak Latin much anymore either. You just read it usually. Because of these two roots, because they share a lot of words in common, it can be a lot easier to learn your new vocabulary with the help of thinking about cognates. And we do have these things called cognate rules, which are simply spelling changes that happen that will help you out. So in English, a lot of the time, if a word, and these are all suffixes, meaning they're at the end of a sentence. So if a word ends in tion, in English, it will be cion with an accent over the O. If it ends in sion in Spanish or in English, it'll be sion in Spanish with an accent. Things that end in ate will become ar. Ize will be izar. Ment become mento. Ary become ario. Ory becomes orio. Ble kind of just stays ble. Not much of a change there. The pronunciation is what changed. So if you look at the example, terrible in English is terrible in Espanol. IVE becomes IVO. OUS becomes OSO. ENCE or ANCE becomes ENCIA or ANCIA. Y oftentimes will end in IA or IO. TIOUS becomes CIOSO. ENT becomes ENTE. AL stays AL. A little bit of spelling changes though. Annual becomes annual. SIAL or TIAL becomes CIAL. IC will have an accent mark and then an ICO. ITY will become IDAD. ISM or YSM becomes ISMO. ALLY becomes ALMENTE. LY will become an MENTE. ICAL will oftentimes have an accent mark and then an ICO or an ICA. And then if it ends in IST, it becomes ISTA. We do have a couple of spelling rules, some spelling change patterns. So there are no double letters in Spanish except for RR and CC. So if we go back and look just a little bit right here, you can see on the word terrible for terrible keeps the two R's. Okay. If you look at accident to accidente, keeps those two C's. But if you look at annual to annual, does not keep those two C's. If you look down a little bit more, casually does not keep those two L's, casualmente. Okay, so those are just some examples. Not a complete list, just, see it in action. We will have a lot of the time an E, the letter E, in front of words that start with SP, ST, SC, or SQU. So if you think of the word Spanish, we don't say Spanish, we say Español. A student is an estudiante. A student goes to school in an escuela. And then if you have like a squadron of fighter jets. They are an escuadron. Okay. Now, if you look at the PH, that's an F sound. So Spanish is like, well, why not just use an F? Makes a lot of sense. An RH, where the H is usually kind of silent, and we don't really see this in a whole lot of everyday words in English, so you're not going to see it in a whole lot of everyday words in Spanish. This is a math term, a rhombus, which is a type of quadrilateral. The RH, it's rhombus in English and rombo in Spanish. We have TH, where the TH is making a TH sound. A th sound oftentimes will become just a T. So thermal, like, or thermodynamics, or thermal underwear, will become thermal. So there's no TH sound. Thermal. Y's often become an I. So hypodermic, hypodermico, and SKs will become ESQUs. So if you kind of look up at the first one that we saw, where you add the E in front of the words that start with SP, ST, SC, and SQU. So it has these sort of, this is all based on sounds. Okay. So a skeleton becomes an esqueleto. And if you have QUAs and QUEs, oftentimes they'll become CUAs and CUEs. So a delinquent, okay, becomes a delinquente. All right. So word categories, you might be surprised at the number of words you already know. And there are many words that we use every day in English that are actually Spanish words. So what you're going to do for your first assignment on Canvas, you're going to add in at least one word or phrase to each category. And this is going to be assignment 114A. Okay, so I give you one word, and then that's kind of your jumping off point, your example, and you give at least one more word or phrase to each of those categories. Now we have a guessing game, sort of. So you are going to take a guess at the cognates that I give you. You're going to hear me speaking those cognates. I'll give you the Spanish word, and just using our cognate rules and our spelling rules that we especially found on slides 6 and 7, you're going to write out what these words mean in English. So, for example, if I say the word esqueleto, you would be like, oh, yeah, ESQU is actually an SK, so an esqueleto is going to be a skeleton. Or if I say español, that's Spanish. Okay, so those are our 2 assignments that we're going to be doing today. And these assignments are not auto-graded. You're turning them in, and then I'm just sort of assessing the work that you did. Okay, if you all have any questions, just let me know. I love you guys. Bye.